from there. Okay? So, what are the characteristics? Lack of impulse control. Number one, lack of impulse control. Very impulsive. They can't hold what's in their mind. They'll tell everybody, oh, your hair, and oh, look at your necklace, and look at your hat. And you're like, what? Why would you even say that? What does that have to do? I don't even know you. Why would you say something? And do you guys know what waterfalling is? We meet, and within 4 minutes, I'm telling you how I was sexually molested by my uncle. Wait a minute. That's way too much information, so they don't have boundaries. So they lack boundaries, and impulse control with a lack of boundaries, that's going to be a problem. Do you see? They're all or nothing type thinking. It's either this way or no. There's no middle ground. It's either this is right or that's wrong, period. The impulsivity obviously leads to most of this stuff, but I would say that their way of thinking, here's where the schizoaffective and dissociative part is delusional at best. It's very childlike thinking. But it's delusional. It's not based in any reality or facts. It's more all about emotions and feelings and how you feel this second, this moment. So they live moment to moment. So that's why you have those extremes of 1 minute they love you, the next minute they want to kill you. So it's those extremes. These are ones that most of the DSM don't talk about. I'm talking about in practical application and 30 years of doing it and knowing these people and being raised by one, what the little nuances are that you can definitely tell. That's the difference between someone just being an asshole and someone with a pathological disorder. Okay? Manipulation is the cornerstone of their existence. Meaning that's how they find and derive validation, is the capacity to find someone they think is smarter or better than them and then manipulate them. Because once they manipulate them, they get high thinking that they are validated or better as good as. So their cornerstone of their existence is to literally manipulate all around them with the underlying pathology of what? Control. Why do they need control? Because they were abused, because they didn't have control when they were being abused sexually or physically or emotionally or what have you, and or abandoned and stuff, which are the usual pathologies. So what we do then is seek control in our environment by manipulating everything around us. If we can control everything, then we feel safe and secure, right? Why is domicile, why is your home so important? You control everything and you feel safe in there, right? Everything's in its place and the way I want it and so on. So that's what gives you relief from your underlying anxiety and stress and anguish and suffering, which they have quite a bit of. Now, I hear all these expert therapists and doctors, narcissistic personality. Any goofball licensed therapist that talks about narcissistic personality disorder is a fraud in my eyes, because they try to make it like narcissistic personality is like some kind of separate personality disorder where, multiple personality disorder where they literally go into a trance-like state in the movies and then they reappear as this new person. That's a bunch of garbage. We all have personas. We all have like your work persona, your relationship persona, your mother persona. And they're necessary. So we all have these roles or acts that we play in certain circumstances because they're appropriate. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean you have multiple personalities. Multiple personality disorders, when those people start to not be able to differentiate. It's, let's say I was an actor and I had a role and I really poured myself into that role for 6 months, speaking with an accent and doing this and doing that. And then the next day you say, hey, movie's over, be normal. Am I going to slip up every once in a while and kind of talk with an accent or act like that or believe that? Yeah, because my brain is having a hard time getting back into differentiating between what is the persona and acting versus this. But if you've grown up acting and pretending and getting attention and that becomes your identity and your self-worth, you're not going to give that up because that's what kept you safe. So your mind gets stuck in the role. But it has multiple roles. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean you are a different person or you don't realize you're doing it. Of course you know you're doing it. It serves a purpose. So that's what real personality disorder or multiple personality disorder. That's what real narcissism is really just a personality disorder. And I told you the cornerstone of all personality disorders are the manipulation, because that's their existence. It's how they validate themselves. It's how they relieve the anxiety, the hurt, the pain, and the suffering on the inside. So when someone says, oh, narcissists are different than borderline, it's all the same. One is just manifesting itself more than the other at that particular time. Borderlines, same thing. How is that any different? They're incredibly narcissistic, meaning self-centered, overindulged, entitled. Okay, that's half the people nowadays that were raised with the iPad and gentle parenting. So does that mean they all have personality disorders? No, of course not. But they are entitled, overindulged, and lack impulse control. So they have the potential to be aforementioned not so nice person, or asshole, or personality disorders when it goes untreated and it starts to serve a purpose for survival in an abusive setting, then it becomes pathological. Does that make sense? So, did I explain the difference enough to make it worthwhile? Okay. But overall, they all have the same 5 or 6 or 7 traits, with the emphasis always being on manipulation of who they deem as authority figures, because that's who they hate, because the authority figures didn't protect them, or they're the ones that abuse them, parents in particular, symbolic. So that's why. And they use manipulation and lies, and they become unbelievably charming. That's the other trait. I think it's self-explanatory, but I'll mention it because part of the manipulation is have to be unbelievably charming. They have to be chameleons. They have to fit in with everything. You want to see if someone has a personality disorder while they're giving you, how awesome, incredible you are, and you're the greatest thing ever. Go completely against it. Say you're full of shit. Watch what happens. They start to break down, and if you question them on that or you tell them they're wrong, explosion time, and they will turn on you with vengeance that you've never seen before. That's the difference between someone that is extreme like that and it's internal versus external. That's how you get them out of the water. Otherwise, they're going to float around in therapy and tell you how awesome you're, the great. I've never had breakthrough, and you're and this and that. That's how I know he doth protesteth too much. That's just an old saying for when someone tells you how awesome and stuff. They're full of shit. They're doing something. 'Cause nobody does that, and nobody's that good. So that's all.